Hello everyone, it's Thursday, November 14th. Let's talk PlayStation. So as I said last week, Let's Talk PlayStation is early this week because, hey, tomorrow that PlayStation 4 is coming out, and you know I'm going to be playing it, and usually how my recording works out, I usually record and edit Thursday night, but Thursday night I'm going to be going to pick up a PS4, so therefore I don't want to do Let's Talk PlayStation, so I'm doing it early, so yeah, you get the whole picture, right? So we're doing it today. And since the PlayStation 4 is so gosh darn close, and I'm actually recording this before GTTV's big PS4 event, PS4 All Access, so there's still a lot of news that I'm not going to pick up from that event because it hasn't happened yet, and this is the most convenient time for me to record. So, but there's still lots of stuff to talk about. So the PlayStation app is now available. So if you're on iOS or Android, go to the iOS App Store, go to the Android Google Play Store, and boom, you can download the PlayStation app, which Sony's been talking about for a long time. Again, it's not going to focus, but you get the whole sort of idea. And again, this is Sony's PlayStation app. So you're going to be able to, check your trophies on this thing. You can message people back, which is the best feature for this thing. Because, if I want to type fast on the PS3 or PS Vita, you got to use like a USB keyboard. And I'm not too good at typing on the PS Vita. And, so it's way better. I can text way faster on a phone than I ever could on those systems. So messaging's cool, and you got the store integration, connect to PS4 if you want to. Again, we don't have PS4s just yet to use that feature, but the app is here for your smartphone, and it's actually super buggy. It's to be expected. So they're gonna have to work out a couple kinks there, but it's available. So as of right now, the PS4 Day One Patch is available right now. You can download it to an external hard drive. And when your PS4 gets here, make sure the hard drive is formatted to FAT32. And then when you get your PS4, plug in your external hard drive, boot it up into safe mode, and you can download install the update right there without having to download it on the PS4 system. If you want to download the Day One PS4 update before you get your PS4, I'll leave a link down in the description. So Sony also recently announced earlier this month that when you get your PS4, there's actually a couple vouchers inside the system, which are nice little, tickets obviously for cool stuff. You get 30 days of PlayStation Plus for free. You get 30 days of Music Unlimited for free, so you can actually try that and see if you want it, which you most likely won't. And then, I know some people like that service, but the vast majority of us don't want to use it. And what else do you get? The most important one, you get $10 free PlayStation Store credit. So that's actually pretty cool. Awesome. I'm not going to say no to money, right? I think most of us wouldn't say no to money. But the PlayStation Plus thing's obviously interesting. You do need PS Plus this generation to play multiplayer games on the PS4. And if you don't know, most PS4 games are coming with a 7-day trial, each one of them. Killzone came with one, Call of Duty came with one, I believe Need for Speed and Battlefield are coming with them. But 7-day trials all around, so they're really kind of engulfing you that idea that, hey, you need this service if you want to play online. So if you remember a while ago, we talked about how Sony was leaving out basic functions inside the PS4, like MP3 support and DLNA support, which is something a lot of people were very passionate and up in arms about. And even me myself was upset about it because it's straight basic functionality that a multi-billion-dollar company should have put into 2013 hardware. But Sony is reporting on it, or at least talking about it. So basically, since PS4 is obviously so close, Sony's doing interviews left and right, Shuhei Yoshida's doing interviews left and right, and at the PS4 review event in New York City, Shuhei Yoshida was talking to, Greg Miller, and he was talking to Giant Bomb, and basically responding to these specific features, saying, like, yeah, they're coming now, basically, because obviously people were passionate about it. But he also talked about how Sony was basically taken back by it, almost surprised that so many people demanded these features. Shuhei kind of talked more about it, saying that it just wasn't on the priority list. It was something that they were always going to do, but gaming was, the gaming features were first and, high up on the priority list. And that's pretty much it. And he even laughed about it. He even said, like, straight up, like, he joked about how, people think we're lying to them, or, we're trying to make people use Music Unlimited. So they're at least humorous about it. They obviously can tell when they get, troll comments like that. Not even troll comments, just like legitimate arguments about it. But they just like shrug it off like, no, we're not trying to make you do that. So it is pretty funny, obviously. I mean, I don't think there was like really a malicious means behind it, like they meant to keep these things out of it, because if you can kind of tell, the system is kind of being a little bit rushed to market. Like, this hardware is moving quick. They built a lot of these things, and at the same time, some of the massive features of the PS4 that we were being sold on was being made, after actual PS4 hardware running version 1.0 is being made. So it's obvious that they're pushing this system out and still working on the software front. And one thing that Greg Miller from IGN kept reiterating is that whenever he asked a question about a certain functionality, like, is the PS4 going to do this? Is it going to do that? Is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? Sony's answer to every one of his questions was always not on day one, which would later imply that these features are going to come later. And that, of course, totally makes sense. If you compare the PS3 from 2006 to 2013 to present day, like, it's night and day. The PS3, gosh darn, that thing didn't do anything really. You couldn't change your background picture, you couldn't download games in the background, there was no in-game XMB, you had to quit a game to message people. It was, to be honest, a huge train wreck, you know? So it's obvious that, you know, yeah, patches down the road are going to add stuff. I still think the company does deserve a little bit of criticism for just not having some of these basic features ready for day one. I mean, this is really, really basic stuff, but obviously it will come at a later date, so. And a lot of people aren't going to buy a PS4 day one. That's why, like, the whole idea is, you know, wait, let everything get fixed up beforehand, and then you buy your PS4. But some other interesting things that came out of this conversation at the New York City PS4 review event. Again, Shuhei Yoshida talking with Greg Miller and like Giant Bomb and all that, talking about some, you know, key issues and talking about stuff. Shuhei basically touched on PSN name changes and how people really want to change their PSN IDs. And again, it's not going to happen just yet. Shuhei obviously played on the defense of Sony, saying that when he was talking to PS4 engineers and just Sony engineers in general, it's just not that easy. It's just not something that they can do, you know, overnight, which I would have to imagine it's not. I'm not an engineer. I have no clue about it. I would have to assume it's not incredibly difficult to do, but I guess, and Sony and Shuhei is saying that it's not impossible to change PSN IDs, but it's just a lot more complicated than what you and I believe it to be. So as of right now, PSN name changes are still not going to happen, and Shuhei also talked about sub-accounts and how sub-accounts can upgrade to master accounts once you hit the age of 18. And again, that one he kind of just showed huge remorse for. He basically kept saying, like, we get it, we know it sucks. You know, when you hit 18 at a sub account, you should be able to go into a master account. And he basically was just really apologetic about it. The only news we got on that front is that currently they are looking into it. So for PSN name changes and sub accounts to master accounts, they're still looking at it. So this next story is obviously going to be hotly talked about, but broken PlayStation 4s are becoming a thing. Well, let's rationally talk about this. So before we talked about PS4 overheating issues and how I told people, like, look, you got to understand that this stuff is negligible. These are debug units, these are test units. Let's not say anything about the PS4 in terms of hardware issues until the retail boxes are out, people are using them, and people are finding out things about them. So at that point, PlayStation stuff, PS4 stuff at events and all that, it's negligible because it's just all tests. It's all, you know, all that stuff is not what you're going to have in your home come November 15th. But now that we are there, people do have PS4s right now, there are reported issues. As of right now, this isn't many different issues. This is one specific issue, which really kind of highlights that this could be some sort of real issue once millions of PS4s are in people's homes. But currently, Kotaku, IGN, 2 NeoGAF members, and I believe 2 Reddit people that got Taco Bell PS4s early, all are having the same issue with their PS4s, which happens to deal with the HDMI port on the PS4. And that's sort of the issue at hand right now, is just the HDMI port. So it's not displaying a picture or this, that, or the other. It's like something's happening in regards to the HDMI port, making the system faulty. Now, obviously, it's 6, 7, even up to 10 people if I'm not naming everybody here. So it's only 10 systems, right? And there's obviously hundreds of millions of PS4s about to be sold in about 24 hours. But, you know, the same issue for that, you know, it could be a real issue once all these systems come out. There could have been a mass fault creation manufacture thing. You know what I'm saying? Something could happen with the HDMI port. Something could happen. Anything could happen, right? It's way too early to talk about this, obviously. So we'll probably talk about it more in depth next episode if more issues like this arise. But early reports, it's just like, you know, it's a little weary. You know, like I obviously hope nothing's wrong. I'm buying a PS4. Many people watching this are going to be buying a PS4, and it would suck to have your brand new hardware break. But currently, the people that are having problems are getting new units shipped to them right away already. Sony support's already helping people with their PS4, so that's good news, obviously, but we don't want it to happen in the first place. It's also no big surprise that a new hardware launch is having problems. This happens everywhere, not just the gaming industry. You know, Microsoft dealt with it with the 360, but Apple deals with it all the time when they release new Apple products. There's like screen bleeding in their iPads and everything. You know, lots of smartphones have huge problems with this, with their lens bleeding and faulty batteries, and like it's not even like worth listing off. Like every hardware company deals with this stuff, and it's kind of one of the issues that a consumer deals with when you want to be an early adopter. When you make the conscious decision to go out and buy a brand new product day one, you just run the risk of something like that happening. And it goes back to what I said earlier, is that some people like to sit back and wait and let these issues get resolved first, and that's the smart tactic for them. So I won't say much else about this other than a problem may be on the horizon. We'll obviously find out next week when millions of people have their PS4s, but Sony could have a huge issue on their hands, and they don't want to mess it up. You know, that heavily damaged Microsoft's reputation when they had such a huge issue with the Red Ring of Death. But hopefully it's a small isolated issue. Hopefully it only affects a certain number of PS4s, or the amount of people that are talking about it now are just the vocal, people talking about it. Because once a problem happens, that's where the vocality comes out, but then the millions of other people will respond saying, well, I don't have an issue with it. That's just how it works. And for our last story, which I found kind of interesting and just funny to talk about, is why is the PlayStation 4 slanted? We actually got an answer for that. Now, before we talked about Sony's lead hardware designer talking about how he just wanted to make a nice futuristic looking box for the home, but we got more of an idea of why it's got this italic look, this parallelogram look. And basically what they said is it's a little bit of design and a little bit of functionality, which you're thinking, okay, well, how does a slanted box actually make functionality? That functionality being is that the front slant, for example, features both the power and eject button. But since it's sort of slanted, your finger kind of tells from, foreground to background which one's the power button and which one's the eject button. On the flip side, when you look at the back of the unit, and it's sort of angled out this way, and then the cords plug in this way, hope that's the right diagram I'm doing on the camera there, it actually hides the cords a little bit, or sort of the bulkiness end of the cord, so a nice regular cord's coming out, and you're kind of hiding that. I'm looking for an example. You're kind of hiding this bit right here, sort of the bulk of the cord. Not only that, but when you kind of look at the back of the box and you see it has, pieces of plastic separating each specific port, which kind of allows you to, for example, when you're setting up your media center and you're, messing around in the darkness or what have you, or leaning over trying to get cords to plug in, or you're not looking at the back of the system but trying to jam the cord in there, you kind of tell from, use your fingers to, check certain block pieces, and then you can kind of level it in and plug it in easier that way, I guess. Which, if I'm explaining that, it makes a lot of sense. When I have the idea in my head, and it makes a lot of sense. Like all the time when I'm trying to plug in my HDMI cord to my PS3 Slim, and I don't look directly at the back of the box, like I'm just sort of, freeballing it and hoping it goes into the right one. It's a pain in the ass. I can never find. I always jam it into the Ethernet port every time, dude. So I thought that was just a little interesting to find out why the PS4 is slanted. All right, guys, PS4 is coming out soon, super soon. Obviously, my videos are going to be coming out really, really soon, within the next 24 to 30 hours, because I'm going to be going at midnight to get my PS4. So we'll obviously see all the videos on this channel in terms of an unboxing, the hard drive upgrade, game reviews. I'll start a Let's Play on a PS4 game, and you'll see my PS4 reviews, obviously. PS4 reviews are out now, by the way, so you can look that up. IGN, Polygon, GameSpot, GamesRadar, Eurogamer, all these places have reviews up. So, the games are getting scored right now, but you'll see my opinion on them once I get a little bit of time with them. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this is being recorded before PS Access, the, GTTV with Jeff Keighley thing. Some big game announcements are supposed to be coming out of that. Kojima's going to be there to announce something shocking. Apparently that's what he's saying, so be on the lookout for that, because I won't be covering that just yet, probably next week, but that will be happening. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you so much for talking with me, and I will see you all in PS4 videos.